welcome back to the channel. So I'm so excited to show you guys today how to make a hand-sewn traveler's notebook insert. And I'm excited about this video because I'm finally, I feel like, adding some value to you guys, because the last few videos I have just been showing all the things that I've purchased and I feel like it literally was no value and I felt pretty bad. So anyways, keep on watching if you guys want to know how to make this. And just to preface the video, I want to say that I am like not a professional like binder or whatever by any means. So if you're looking for something how to like create like professional, ready to sell goods like that, this is not the video for you. But if you just want to get into binding instead of using staples and not having, having your booklets not lay flat, and you want to learn how to do it a really easy hand-sewn way so that your booklets can lay flat, then that's what I'm going to show you today. Okay? So if you guys have been following my channel and watched some of my previous videos, you know that I went on this crazy traveler's notebook rabbit hole, and I basically bought everything to do with traveler's notebooks. And of course, the first thing that I wanted to research was how to make a proper booklet. So before, I was just like stapling it the best I could and calling it a day. But when you staple it, your booklets that you make yourself don't lay flat. And because I am always wanting to change things around and I want to have my own templates and I'm not a good artist, I wanted to make sure that I had an easy way to, make my own printables, of course, because I have my own shop, and be able to create my own notebooks really easily and have it lay flat. So of course, I looked into how to hand sew the binding. And so what I came across on Amazon, and I'll link everything down below, is the super easy book binding tool. And I think it wasn't even that expensive. It was like $30 Canadian, I believe. So, again, I haven't read all like the booklets and literature on how to bind books in different ways, and if you look it up on YouTube, if you really get serious about it, there are some pretty cool techniques. I just did the simplest thing that I could, just what I thought made sense, and call it a day. And I think it still turned out pretty well if you see this booklet that I made. But of course, if you guys want to be more serious about it, there are other tutorials and stuff online that you can look up to make a proper notebook. So I'm going to teach you the way that I did it. So this is called the We Are Memory Keepers, I think, bookbinding tool. And it couldn't get easier than this, honestly. It really couldn't. It comes with this thing, and then this pokey thing that you use to make holes, and a couple other things. So one of them is just the needle. I don't actually even know what that's for. It comes with some thread, and then kind of this booklet on how to make different types of booklets. So of course you could get this to make like the scrap booklets type, where you bind it this way and then you kind of have a crease like that. Or of course you could use it on this type of booklet where you put it really on the seam and so it lays flat. Okay, so let me just show you super easy way to do this. So these are just some printables from my shop. This is actually the GTD bundle, the Traveler's Notebook GTD bundle. And the way that I have it is that it's meant to be separate booklets. So the inbox section, the, next action section, etc., etc. And these don't really matter if like you're not into the GTD system. Like it doesn't have to be these inserts. I just want to use this to show you because I wanted to do a couple things. One is I wanted to show you how to just make like one booklet. And then I also wanted to show you a method where you're binding basically several different booklets together, like that. And that's why I just printed these inserts, because technically each of these layouts is its own booklet. And then what I like to do is create its own booklet in the inbox, next actions, whatever, each of the layouts, because I can print as many as I want of each section. And then I bind them all together. So if you're familiar with my shop, I thought this video might help those of you who are interested in that insert as well, because it's not necessarily like a booklet form just on the shop. You have to create it this way. Okay, hopefully that made sense. Okay, so let me just show you. Maybe I should go here. Okay, so what you do is the bookbinder comes like this, and there's two little knobs here, and you just undo the knobs, and then this thing comes out, okay? And this just holds the top of your papers down. So you'll see here that there's like kind of a ridge. So this one goes in. And then the same way with the ruler, it kind of goes in like that. So how I like to do it is, because your booklets come like this, right? I like it so that it's like, what is this, concave or convex? Concave, I think. So you want it so that it's like a V and have it down this way in here. And then when you put this over top, you do it the same way. Like it should be like the curved V like this, right? Over top. And what you do is you line up your paper down the middle or where you want the holes, and you just line it with this little gadget, and then you put this right on top, okay, and line it on one edge. See, that's super easy. And for those of you guys asking, how many sheets can you punch? I have tried up to about 8 pieces of paper, I think. And I would say that 8 was close to the max. You could try maybe like 9 or 10 and maybe it would still work, but I found 8 was enough for me. So I'm just gonna do 4 of them here together. And you'll see that with 4, it's super easy to punch through. So what you do, I just line it up on the one side. Then you lay this on top and you put the screws back in. And you want to put these back in because it'll hold your paper down while you're doing the punching. Okay, so I screw that in. And you'll see that there's like the middle hole is lined up with, I've lined it up to the middle of my insert booklet, right? So that I can punch right in that center seam because that's where I want my stitches to go. So let me zoom you in a little bit here, okay? And so you can kind of choose where you want to punch. For the sake of this video, like, I didn't want to punch, like you could technically punch every single hole and then sew. Remember, you have to sew this after, right? You're going to sew it through every hole, or the less holes you punch, the less sewing you have to do, but then obviously the more spread out your binding will be, right? So in the example when I showed you, they were pretty tight together. Oh, come on, focus. You guys can kind of see that it's pretty tight together, right? But in this video, for the sake of the video and in my trial, so these are some of the ones that I've done, you can see that I've punched like further apart and it works. Like, you don't really need the seams to be that tight together because it's not like your pages are going to fall out, right? Like, these are much wider apart and it's totally fine. So for those ones, what I did was I punched, oh, come on, focus. I punched each or every other black hole. Okay, so you see every other black hole basically. So all you do is you take your punching thing and then literally you just press. Like, it honestly takes like 5 seconds. Like, how easy is that? Like, I'm done punching already, right? Then you take it out. And then there are your holes. Okay, see the holes? So then what you're going to do is you're going to sew them together, right? So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. And then I'm going to show you guys how to sew several booklets together. And at the very end, if I didn't already mention this earlier in the video, is I'm going to give you guys a tip on how to make sure your booklets, especially if you're having a thicker booklet, is like straight on the edge and not like pointed towards a V because you have a lot of pages like just folded together. I'm going to show you a tip on how to make it so that your edge is straight without like a guillotine cutter. Okay, so stay till the end if you want to see that. So I'm just going to, for the sake of this video, bind these 2 pages together and pretend this is a booklet. Well, it is going to be a booklet, but it's just going to be like a 4-page booklet. But of course, you could choose as many pages as you want, right? It just depends on you. So what comes with the kit is actually some string already. Sorry, it's getting a bit bright outside, so my lighting is now a bit more bright. But anyways, it comes with this string, and this is a very high quality string, but it's very thick. And so because my books that I'm making aren't that thick, I don't want like a huge insert. I don't really love this string, to be honest. So what I use is this string. It's like a nylon type string, and I'll link a similar one down below if you're interested. So I literally just put it on like a sewing needle, but of course it also comes with its own needle in the pack, so you can use that. So just a bit thicker. Mine's a bit thinner, and because I'm using thinner string, I just figure I will use this one. And so this is the part where you could do some more research if you want on how to make it a bit more precise. So what I do, I literally just see the holes. You just sew the paper like you would a piece of clothing or something. All I did was I tied a knot of the string, nothing fancy. And you just go like that. You go to the next hole. And, oops, sorry about the focus here. And that's all I'm doing. I'm literally just going in and out of each one. So, like I said, this is not a fancy tutorial by any means. But for me, I am, you guys know, all about functionality. Don't worry too much about what it looks like. And honestly, it's just the binding of your booklet. Like, you really don't notice if it's in a fancy sew or if it's just a regular straight sew. So you can do more research if you want. I'm sure there are nicer ways to do this, or maybe better or more efficient or something ways. I don't know. I'm just doing it this way. So I just go in and out, in and out. You go to the last page, you poke it through the last hole, and then you tie the knot to secure it. And you just tie it the same way you would sewing clothes or just tying a knot if you don't sew. Like, you don't need to have sewing experience either. So I literally am just tying a knot. I am very sorry if this exposure is too high. Hopefully it's okay. Oh man, it's really hard tying a knot over my camera. Okay, so when you tie the knot, you just want to make sure that it's tight towards the bottom of the page so that the string isn't like moving around. Okay, and then you just cut it off. So literally cut that off. Okay, and there's the booklet. Wow, that is really bright. Let me see if I can turn the brightness down for you guys a little bit. Okay, so I shut the blinds a little bit. Hopefully you guys can see. So that's that, and it's just the booklet. Okay, super easy, right? You got a little booklet, and you can have as many pages as you want. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys how to do it if you want to bind several booklets together. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to do this one. Okay, so I'm going to take, is this one already bound? No, okay. So here's my other one that I had punched, and this is going to be the inbox. And I'm going to sew this together, for example, with my next actions, which would be my second booklet. And say I want to sew these together, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open them to my middle seam, okay? So down the middle. And if you punched your holes correctly, as in like the same spot for all your inserts, it's super easy because they just line up, of course. And then you'll just go from one seam to the next. So I'm going to start on the one middle section and go through the back. Then go in the back of my inbox one, so my other booklet. And then sew out. And then doing the exact same thing, sewing in this way and then into this one. Okay? So you just keep doing that until you go through the whole booklet. Which, if you didn't punch too many holes, won't take that long. So now, again, tie your knot at the bottom. Just tie it as tight as you can towards the booklet, the same way you would with paper. Okay, so now I've sewn immediately 2 booklets together. And Mine are thin booklets, but of course you could have a lot thicker and thicker booklets for both of them, and then it would obviously be an even bigger notebook. And that's what 2 of them looks like. Okay, so now what do we do if you have several booklets that you want to bind together? So that's the case of this GTD bundle. So you have your inbox, you have your next actions, I have another next actions, and waiting on, and someday maybe, and blah, 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 right? Goes on forever. So what you would want to do, so what I did was I printed just a couple of each because, for example, for me, I like to have more inbox pages, more next actions, but just maybe like 1 or 2 waiting on lists and 1 or 2 project lists. And as well, I like to have like maybe more of the lists, these list styles. So that's why I had them as separate booklets. Sorry, that's why I had them as separate booklets in the shop, because I wanted you guys to be able to customize it the way that you wanted. Because some people might want to have more waiting on. Some people might want to have more next actions. It just depends on what you want and what is suited for your needs. And this, of course, isn't just for like this insert, right? Like it can be any inserts that you have from any shop. Maybe you want to put different weeklies or dailies together or whatever, right? So this just really allows you the flexibility to do that. And what I did was I created 2 like booklets at a time, so 2 different layouts at a time, and first did the 2 at a time and sewed them all together so that I have 2 booklets in each of these little packs. And then what I'm going to do to turn this into 1 booklet is you have the string coming out of each of these booklets, right? Because you just sewed them together. And so what you're going to do, see the little, I guess you don't have the strings, but like you have like the holes here. So what you can do is just sew through each of these and then sew that through all the booklets so that you can have 1 big booklet. So let me show you how that works. Okay, so I kind of got this one started so that it'd be hopefully a bit easier to show you on camera. But okay, so what you do is you have these all lined up like this, right? And then you open. So then what you're going to do is you're going to open the end one. So for example, or the beginning one. So like this is my inbox, so that's my first section. So I'm going to open it back up to the middle, and I thread again my needle through the first hole and pulled it out, right? And then what you do is you're going to try to go through in and out of each of the other booklet seams. So let me try to show you. Okay, so I've done 3 of them together already. So I'm going to put this one down and take this one, okay? So you see how my string right now is coming out of this 3rd one. So what you're going to do is, like I showed you earlier, there's that gap from sewing your 2 booklets together, right? Like this is 1 booklet, this is the 2nd. You see that little gap? So I'm going to put my needle through that gap, and what you're going to do is put it through the gap and get it out on the other side, okay? So maybe an easier way to do it is if you open back up to the middle of the 2 booklets, so you see my 2 booklets sewn together, go down through between the 2 gaps and then back up, okay? So it's really hanging by the, oops, come on, focus. It's hanging by that middle thread, okay, from sewing those 2 together. And then, see how it's together like that? And they're held on together. So you're gonna do the same thing on this one, on the last one. And so you go through the middle of the 2 booklets. Oh, actually, this is only 1 booklet. But what you would do is go through the 2 booklets and then come back out up through the top. And that's how you would get all the booklets together. And you have to do that on at least, I would say, 3 sections. So I would do it here, here, and here. And then that'll be security enough. You don't have to do it on every section, but you should do it on at least 3. So I'm going to tie this, get another string, a longer one, and do the other ones to show you. So now I have this booklet of various booklets, okay? And so, oops. So this one I tied a bit loose, so it's coming out a bit, but just make sure that you tie it tightly. And then what you can do is obviously open your bigger booklet and put this in your traveler's notebook. And the other thing that you can do is, of course, add a cover to this if you wanted. I didn't on this one yet, because when you get to a thicker binding like this, it's going to be harder to add a cover. But in the one where I just did one layout type thing, and I was just doing, you know, that one standard booklet, I did add a cover, and you would just obviously put the cover on top before you sew it so that you could sew it all together. Okay? So that's basically how you do that, and it's really simple. It really just requires this little tool that I think is more than worth the money, because like literally if you make 2 inserts, you basically spent the amount of like buying a booklet, right? So I think it's really worth it. And then the other hack that I have that I'm just going to show you is if you want a booklet with a lot of pages like this and you want the edge to be flat or whatever, so that it's not like going in like a little mound, what you can do is you need a an X-Acto knife or a box cutter. Let me show you the one I got. So you can definitely just use a box cutter, but I just found an X-Acto knife is a bit less wobbly just because it's not like a blade within the handle, whereas a box cutter, you have that blade sitting within that handle, so it can rattle a little bit. So I just got this from Amazon, again, really inexpensive. It comes with so many little blades, and so I just used like either one of those. This one's a little bit bigger, this one's a bit smaller. So I'll link this down below too, but this is just what it looks like, and it's just kind of like a blade in this. And so what you do is first, when you do the cutting of your inserts, so you get an insert, imagine your insert, and it's coming on like a US letter or an A4 paper, right? So it's like this, right? So you have the trim marks on the side and on the top. What you're gonna do is you're gonna trim just the 2 top edges, so the excess off the top and bottom, but leave the edges on the side. Okay, so you're going to trim all the inserts, as many as you want, and just trim the top, leave the sides. Then you're going to do all the folding, so fold all your inserts, create the little booklet, but of course it's going to be wider than your insert should be, right, because you haven't trimmed the side off, but you've folded it into your booklet, so this side and everything, of course, folded in the middle of your insert, just leave this edge hanging, right? So then what you're going to do is you're going to get your X-Acto knife, box cutter, whatever it is, as well as a metal ruler. And what you're going to do is you're going to line up your ruler to where your cut marks are, to the size of your insert. You're going to press on your X-Acto knife, or your ruler, and then you're going to slide your X-Acto knife down here, of course, and cut it that way. So when you cut all the sheets together like this, it's going to create a flat edge because you're cutting everything while it's folded, right? So if you guys, so backtrack. The best result, I would say, if you want to do it this way, is don't create inserts that are too thick. So I would use like 8 pages maybe. And I like lots of smaller inserts because I like to change out my layout all the time. So I don't want to be sticking in like a huge insert of the same layout. So I like mine small anyway. So stick with a smaller bundle of inserts. Do your binding and everything first, because then it'll be like exactly what it should be. And then do the last cut. Now, if you have a small booklet with about 8 pages, this cut will be very easy because the best result is if you can do the cut in one, not like one time, but like pretty much as close to you as you can to one cut, so that you don't get like the jagged edges and stuff. And if you have a thin booklet, you'll be able to do that. So about 8 pages, you could cut pretty easily. If you have like prefer thicker booklets, what you can do is don't bind it yet, just fold it into the smaller booklet, then cut them that way, each of them, but again, make sure it's folded in half, cut them each way, and then slide them together, and you'll still get kind of a neater edge than if you were to use like the paper cutter to the side first and then folding it. Yeah, so hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, leave some comments down below. But yeah, so that's basically it. Please let me know if you guys found this video helpful and if you guys have some tips. Because like I said, this was by far not like a a professional bookbinding video, but just to give you guys some ideas, and I know you guys are so good about like making it look way nicer than I can do. I just give you the starter idea. So yeah, so again, I'll have everything linked below. Let me know what else you guys want to see. I've been a bit like, I don't know if it's summer or what it is, but kind of talked about it on Instagram where I've been feeling a little bit blah recently, just not that much motivation. But yeah, chatting with you guys always brings me back. And anyways, so thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!